All right, guys. So for our hodgepodge, this is a director spotlight. We had a lot of stuff to go with for our weekly Find Your Film episode, but now we have two films from Bobcat Goldthwait, Eric Holmes. These movies are Willow Creek and Sleeping Dogs Lie. My question to you, first off, why Bobcat for your choice this week for director spotlight, and why these two films?
Well, he's really good at taking interesting stories and characters and doing things with them that you wouldn't normally think. Sleeping Dogs Lie is about a woman that, in her college days was sitting at home, decided, you know what, I'm gonna blow my dog. Oral sex with a dog. You think that that setup, like, haha, it's a sophomore comedy, and it kind of is sometimes, but the heart of the movie doesn't go there. It's not about haha, you had oral sex with a dog. It becomes a different. It's not the movie you think of going at. It becomes a movie about kind of mistakes we make and how our past haunts us. And then you have Willow Creek, which is, the reason I picked Willow Creek is because that's a lot different than Bobcat's other movies. He has Shakes a Clown, which deals with substance abuse. You have World's Greatest Dad, which just deals with just a family dynamic with a son that's had died, and just kind of misrepresenting himself and his kid, who's admittedly an asshole. And Willow Creek's just kind of a Blair Witch kind of movie. I think Willow Creek, of his movies, that one's my least favorite, because it's basically just Blair Witch but with Bigfoot. It still does great character work, but the story's not there. And I kind of one of the things I love about Bobcat's movies is where he goes with the stories. And so, yeah, but he's a great storyteller. He's a great filmmaker. And he does a Sidney Lumet thing where he's it seems that everything in the movie is on the page. And so as far as any camera work, he just kind of gets out of the way and just lets the scenes play out how they need to be the most effective without turning attention to themselves. And yeah, he's a good writer. And yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, Bobcat Goldthwait, I'm looking at IMDb. He has over 113 acting credits. He's obviously, during his early years, just even the stand-up comedy, the acting, the directing. Bruce, what stands out for you regarding Bobcat Goldthwait as a filmmaker for this week's Spotlight?
Kind of exactly the same sort of things that Eric's calling out. I think it's in most of the movies I've seen of his, which I think I've seen most of them. He takes an idea that seems really kind of simplistic or even like a one-liner, and then he does something more interesting with it. He usually he gives it more heart, or he gives it more depth than you'd expect there to be in there. And I think a lot of that is also kind of just in line with him as a person. Like Bobcat, as his character as a comedian, as a ongoing character in Police Academy movies, people kind of think of him as one thing too. And like his movies, he's a lot more than that. So I think that it kind of mirrors in a way his own personal relationship with the people that have come to know him a little more deeply as well.
All right, so let's start off with Willow Creek. And there's a reason why I'm starting off with Willow Creek. 2013, 80 minutes. Eric, you said this was your least favorite out of his body of work, but you still liked Willow Creek, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and here's the IMDb summary. A man and his girlfriend camp in the woods to capture firsthand evidence of Bigfoot. It's directed and penned by Bobcat Goldthwait. The leads are Alexi Gilmore. She plays this woman named Kelly. And her boyfriend is Jim, played by Bryce Johnson. We'll be talking about Bryce Johnson as well for the other movie. So Jim, played by Bryce Johnson. Kelly, played by Alexi Gilmore. A big part of this movie is them in the car going from place to place around this area of Willow Creek, trying to search for Bigfoot and capture, just pretty much they're doing their own little fly-by-night documentary on this whole legend of Bigfoot. And they get to meet various locals. They go to the Bigfoot Diner, I believe. And I think for me personally, a lot of the value add is the fact that I had no idea that this whole area existed, and this whole section of like the motel or the hotel, and I think this will really appeal to people who are into the legend of Bigfoot. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. I think for me, as I guess, would you call this sort of in a way a little bit of a found footage kind of movie? It had,
I mean, it's definitely that.
Right. So it had a little bit of that, but I found it to be completely entertaining. As an indie project, I thought it was good because this movie's made for probably not that much money. And I really enjoyed what Bobcat was able to do with a limited budget, and I thought it was fun. And I like the ending. The ending is pretty terrifying. Bruce, your thoughts on Willow Creek?
Very similar. I had seen it when it originally came out, remember thinking it was fine. And watching it again this time, I enjoyed it a little more, surprisingly. I didn't think I would, but I did. And a couple of things that really kind of stuck out to me. One is it's pretty much shot in all the locations it's supposed to be taking place in. Like if you look it up on a map, these places all exist. They are the places they say they are. They're shooting in the places they say they're shooting. They are near the site of the actual famous Bigfoot footage. So all that stuff is real, which kind of gives it a level of reality that kind of is above and beyond what he has to do with this movie. He could have shot it, anywhere with woods. He says right out front that he was kind of going with the Blair Witch idea. He's not trying to hide that. And I had written in my notes, Blair Witch meets Grizzly Man, what is the two movies that he was thinking about when he made this was Blair Witch and Grizzly Man. From what I read, a lot of the stuff that the actors did, a fair amount of it was ad-libbed and a fair amount of it was just them riffing off each other. And one thing that kind of stuck out to me the second time watching it was there's an extended scene at night with them in a tent where you're literally just staring at them, at their faces as they're inside the tent. Surprisingly, it's really simple and really effective. And apparently when they were shooting that, they were really out in the middle of the woods and they were just told to film. They did not know what was going to happen around them. So they were absolutely unaware of what was going to occur or what wasn't going to occur. So all of their reactions, I mean, they knew it was the filmmakers doing stuff, but their reactions were relatively spontaneous, and I thought that was pretty cool too. But yeah, I think it's a fun, effective, tight little found footage movie.
Yeah, with just flashes of verite filmmaking, and again, it's if you like that genre, you're going to appreciate this film. Eric, your thoughts?
Yeah, I also liked how in this movie they kind of capture the, anytime someone's into like. I know crystals are crazy. I don't believe it either, but I used it and it cured my cancer. So it's got a lot of that. The idea of believing in Bigfoot or any, like, I love cryptids. I don't believe for a second that they exist until there's evidence to prove otherwise. And, someone hearing something in the woods sounded like something in the woods. Yeah, like maybe a bear or a fucking squirrel or, there's millions of things in the woods. But it kind of captured that apologetics that go with believing, things to which you probably shouldn't, with, believing things without good evidence. I guess where where I'm most disappointed in is that the movie kind of and it's a horror movie, so you can't fault it too much, but the movie almost says that the crazy people are right. It almost backs up their bad takes on things. And I guess I really wish that Bobcat would have done more, like played with ideas more of this as he did in previous movies. But again, also like Bruce, I didn't like it too much when I first saw it, and I liked it a lot more now because of all the character stuff going on. And yeah, I mean, it captures all the character stuff. It captures it pretty much as you would expect that would happen with these two characters going on this journey together. Also, the two main characters, they have both been in Bobcat movies. I believe they were both in one. They were both in God Bless America, but this was the first movie that they appeared on screen too. Like this is the first movie they actually met each other in. So they were both in a Bobcat Goldthwait movie. Not only were they both in one, but they were both in one together. But this was the first one that came after that. That was the first time they met each other, which I thought was kind of neat. Has nothing to do with Bobcat Goldthwait. It's just a fun little trivia thing.
Yeah, Willow Creek, it's also really, in many ways, when we're talking about verite filmmaking, found footage stuff, that's ultimately you're just watching this couple and you're wondering if they're going to experience Bigfoot or whatever's out there in the forest. You will get your answer by the third act. And I think if you just follow those steps, you're going to enjoy it. You know, it's indie filmmaking. And I also like the sort of the man in the street kind of filmmaking, the people they get to come across. They don't feel like extras. They feel like people who actually live in the town. And I really enjoyed that as well. I think this is, baseline for me, this is a strong recommend. Not a strong recommend, but a recommend. It's on Tubi. This is, it hits all of those things that the genre affords. I really, going back to Bruce's situation regarding the extended tense sequence, the third act for me was a banger. So overall, this movie, for me, Willow Creek, 3.5 stars. Eric Holmes, what are you going to say?
Oh, yeah, probably about 3.5 stars on this one too. This is Bobcat kind of swinging below his weight. He can do way better than Willow Creek, but at the same time, I believe because he used to come on Todd and Tyler a lot. This was back in Omaha. Todd and Tyler was a morning radio show, and I think this was just something he wanted to do for fun. So, you know, hey, I want to do a Blair Witch type movie, and he did a good one. So you can't really fault him too much for that.
For me, it's a good jazz riff, right? It's a good jazz riff, and
it's kind of like if Michelangelo like decides to draw Ninja Turtles. Like you can do, that's a good Ninja Turtle. You set out to draw a Ninja Turtle, and that looks great. You are capable of much better than this. But you know, for what it is, it's a very good version of this.
All right, 3.5 for Eric, 3.5 for me. What about you, Bruce?
I think I'm right the same, 3.5. I think it's a good, solid recommend. And I think if you're into found footage, it's a really fun one.
Okay. Now, the reason why I selfishly put that up front, because Sleeping Dogs Lie, 2006, 87 minutes. Again, Bryce Johnson from Willow Creek is back here again, and he plays John, the boyfriend of this girl named Amy, played by Melinda Page Hamilton. Both of them are very terrific in this film. They're a loving couple, and who knows? Things are really looking up for them. They may get married, but Amy, like Eric was said in the past, when the aforementioned incident, she actually performed. She blew a dog. Let's face it, she blew a dog when she was in college. Maybe I think she was 18, and it's a secret that maybe she should have kept a secret. Will she tell her boyfriend John about what happened? Also, Jeff Pearson is excellent as the father, and Benita Frederici is the mother, and the mother of Amy in this movie, the dad and mom, they're fantastic. Also, got to give props to Brian Posehn. He has a really good moment in this movie. There is some really interesting, and Jack Plotnick as Amy's brother, ne'er-do-well brother, Dougie, let's just say Dougie. Look, it's a weird plot. It's a weird plot regarding the dog and blowing it, but to me, what's really cool about this indie film is where it goes. You will never understand where it goes, and you're wondering halfway through, what's going on now? And it goes a completely different direction. The sad part of this for Sleeping Dogs Lie is a lot of people will not watch this movie because of the subject matter, but to me, it's a very highly evolved comedy. And yeah, I was blown away by this. Bruce, your thoughts on Sleeping Dogs Lie?
Well, yes, absolutely what you said. If you are holding off because of the tagline or the inciting incident, I guess you'd say, kind of let that go by. Because you could imagine it could be anything, right? It could be anything that someone has in their past that they kind of don't want to come out. Maybe they were in a porn movie at one point. Maybe they, have a prison record. I mean, there could be a lot of things you could have instead of this, but by choosing such a outlandish thing, it really accentuates that. All that being said, at its heart, this movie is just great relationship and family scene after great relationship and family scene. And there's so many, these certain kind of movies like this where every time you start to see the scene, you're like, oh God, I love this scene so much. And you want to watch it again. This is one of those movies, kind of like a Moonstruck or one of those kind of movies. Same sort of thing. Believe it or not, it's kind of at that level. It's much more low budget. It's a little like what you talk about, rough around the edges, because he's very indie in this movie. But there's so many great scenes. Perfect example, and I won't say what happens in the scene exactly, but there's a scene where the boyfriend is asking the dad for his blessings to ask her to marry him. And he's out in the yard. And the woman, that blew the dog, and her mom are inside, and neither can hear the other side. And the one is inside the kitchen window looking out. The other ones are in the yard looking back and forth. And they're both having their separate conversations. Both of them are revealing a lot of things. Both of them are very entertaining. And there's dinner scenes that are really entertaining. There's just Dougie stuff that's great.
It's very well written.
Yeah, there's just scene after scene, which is just impressive. And it's a little bit sweeter because I got to buy this DVD from some really sweet old ladies in Alabama at a library, and they had no idea what they were selling me, and I loved that even better. So,
whoa, how much did you buy it for?
$1.
That's amazing. Wow. That's such a great buy. I definitely want to buy this DVD, Sleeping Dogs Lie. Eric, you're a writer at heart. Were you really surprised the first time you saw this movie where it went on a story level? And is that one of the reasons why you love Sleeping Dogs? I'm assuming you love Sleeping Dogs Lie.
So I'm going to bring up Todd and Tyler again. I was not surprised because the first time I heard them talking about it, they were talking with Bobcat about it. So I kind of knew knew that it was going to be a lot more thoughtful going in. So I wasn't like, holy crap, this is, really thoughtful. I knew that going in, but that's because I heard them talking about it. But what I got watching it this time, and I guess I got it the first time, but I wasn't really thinking about it too much. But this time watching it, and this is what Bobcat does great, is the theme of the movie. A lot of movies like this is the truth will set you free. Just be open and honest. And this movie posits that no, don't. You don't owe people that. Because they're just going to judge you. They're going to use it against you, and fuck them. Sometimes you just got to keep stuff close to the vest, and you don't have to feel obligated to open your life up to everybody. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, if you want to, go for it. And if not, then don't. And just know that a lot of times if you do, people will judge you and be assholes. And, not everyone's going to be like that. But I like that this kind of took the theme of that and kind of maybe it's a more cynical approach, but I also think it's a more realistic approach, which sucks to say because like with so many, not just blowing dogs, but just anything, anyone could be hiding from people or in the closet about, you kind of, the thing you would want to say is, come out, just be honest about it and it'll be okay. And then you can just be yourself and tell the truth. But also it's fair warning because there's fucking some people are shitty. Like they say they'll be open to things and maybe they're not. So I don't know that that's a great message, but I think it's an honest one. And I think this movie kind of tackles that whole thing really well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's not a spoiler what you just said right now. The movie's titled Sleeping Dogs Lie. It's not called Blown Dogs Lie. It's called Sleeping Dogs Lie. Sometimes in life you have to.
It's kind of a double entendre too.
Right. You gotta let sleeping dogs lie. You gotta let things.
Sometimes you gotta lie.
Sometimes you gotta lie.
And the original title I think it was Stay, and that's a double entendre as well. So yeah, this is Bobcat at the top of his form. Top form, Goldthwait, and yeah, there's a lot of his movies.
There's a part in this movie where you think it's going somewhere, and like I said, we're talking about jazz riffs. It just goes a completely different direction, and you're thinking, did Bobcat just decided he wanted to go here? Because wherever he's going, it's an interesting direction, and I had no idea how this movie would end up till the very end. I was surprised by it. So for me, Sleeping Dogs Lie is a very wonderful, accomplished film. Even with the rough around the edges thing that you were saying, Bruce, to me, eventually it starts off as rough around the edges, but that shaggy dog nature of it wins me over. For me, Sleeping Dogs Lie gets 4.5 stars. Bruce, your rating on Sleeping Dogs Lie?
I think I'm 4.5 stars too. Yep.
Wow. Okay. Eric Holmes?
This one's 5 stars for me. Other than Willow Creek, I think a lot of his movies are 5 stars for me. This Shakes a Clown, God Bless America, absolutely World's Greatest Dad.
That's a great movie.
He's just he's just kind of unsung a little bit. I think the people that know, but the people that don't, like, I don't think many people are thinking of him as the crazy guy from the Police Academy movies nowadays, just because we're in 2022, and I don't think the movies kind of lasted as long as people would have thought they would in the 80s. But
you know what, though? He should be thought of as a filmmaker that you can trust your movie on.
He is. And he's done a lot of TV. I mentioned a couple weeks ago about Ben Roy. He was on that TV show, Those Who Can't. And Bobcat Goldthwait directed a couple episodes of that, and among other TV shows. And I think can't remember. He did a stand-up. He directed stand-up, so he's a journeyman director as well. And I think that comes from what I talked about, like the Sidney Lumet thing, where he knows when to get out of the way.
Cool.
When it comes to his writing, he's full on Bobcat, but when he comes to directing, it's what does this need? I'm going to just do what it needs and not throw in my own little egotistical flourishes. I'm just going to give I'm just going to play the drum beat that needs to get, make the song sound the best it can.
Okay, so that is our director spotlight on Bobcat Goldthwait. That was a choice of Eric Holmes. Before we go, Bruce, yet again, can you reiterate your choice for next week, the movie we're going to see and the filmmaker you're going to spotlight?
We're going to do Larissa Shepitko, Russian filmmaker. She died, I think, really close to 1980. Her last film is The Ascent, 1977. And if anything, this will probably be more of a director spotlight of wow, what could have been? Because when you see this movie as her last movie, you wonder what other movies she might have made in the next 20 to 30 years after that.
Yes. Wow. Interesting. So I'm going to be very depressed next week. Thank you for that. I'm going to see a great movie, and then we're going to rue the day. We're going to want some more movies that will never happen. Thanks.
Well, I'm not going to say the movie wouldn't totally depress you either. It's not like a lighthearted movie. Let's put it that. When you find out what The Ascent is, you will understand.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for listening again. Check us out next week when we do The Ascent, and tell us what you think of these Bobcat movies. Or are there any other? Hit up Eric Holmes at hamslime@gmail.com, or if you want to send him screeners that don't exist, hamslime@gmail.com. Tell him what you think of all these wonderful Bobcat Goldthwait movies. Again, hamslime@gmail.com, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Thanks for listening.